Would you say David Villa is the best jersey that you have? Like, what's your favorite jersey? That's probably the best way to ask that you have gotten in a jersey swap on
Man,
the field.
I really have to go back through it and like look at it again to see kind of which ones I have. I mean, there's some good ones in there. I know I have Gonzalo Higuain's Miami jersey
Oh
from a while
yes.
ago, which is funny now. But yeah, David Villas is a good one for sure. One jersey, for example, I didn't get was Zlatan. I wanted that one, but there were other players that I didn't really want to step in front of at that time, and then unfortunately, I didn't get that one.
Welcome to the Player Manager Podcast. We are back for episode 6. I'm Zealand Shannon, the man once called a professional gamer by the BBC, joined by my co-host, Inter Miami's Julian Gressel, who's now known as Patrick Mahomes' best friend of sorts. How are you,
Wow,
Julian?
that's a high honor. Good, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I got my entire social media flooded with you just dapping up Patrick Mahomes on the field all weekend. Yeah, so I was reevaluating my life. That looked very cool. Of course, we're going to get into that. I believe this is the time where I lay out the agenda for everyone because it was a difficult week at the start for Inter Miami getting knocked out of the CONCACAF Champions League. We are going to talk about that. The week ended on a high note, not just Julian befriending Patrick Mahomes, but a 3-2 win over Sporting Kansas City we're going to get into as well. Messi's bodyguard got up to some tomfoolery. There was drama in England, drama in Germany, and even some drama on the putting greens. That's right. We're going to talk about a different sport. I didn't know those existed. And of course, we are going to answer listeners' questions as we come up at the end of this podcast, including a video submission we got from an Inter Miami fan that was, quite frankly, awesome. Please do remember to subscribe and rate the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you happen to listen. Every 5-star rating and review means that I will read it in my best British accent. And I promise you that's something you want to hear. Now that I've gotten all of the agenda stuff out of the way, Julian, it was a massive game in Kansas City. And I'm saying that literally because, my goodness, there were a lot of people there.
Yeah, unreal crowd. Super exciting to be able to kind of feel that energy for an MLS game. And to be fair, we'll talk about obviously the CONCACAF Champions Cup game later, but even that atmosphere was insane. It was awesome, and but to come home back to the US and play in Kansas City at I think GEHA Field, right at Arrowhead Stadium. Um,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
impressed that you got that close to it.
And have it full and be a really really electric crowd is awesome. I think it was the fourth highest attendance in the U.S. and obviously the highest in the state of Missouri for a soccer game. So that's awesome, and yeah, definitely needed much to kind of get up for that game. Once you shook Patrick Mahomes' hand at first, and then once you saw the crowd going onto the field, it was cool.
Yeah, it's two separate things, obviously. First, playing in front of 72,000 people. I mean, there are some MLS stadiums that are fantastic. Atlanta comes to mind, obviously. You've played in that atmosphere is tremendous. Obviously, Inter Miami Stadium, not quite at that level, but the buzz that is around Messi, you've had a bunch of great atmospheres. Where does that Arrowhead Stadium rank? I mean, 72,000, it just blows my mind. I mean, that's got to be one of the largest crowds to watch a soccer match anywhere in the
Yeah,
world this weekend.
yeah, it ranks pretty high up there. It's like it gets me goosebumps thinking about it now. I mean, it's electric, and then what credit to the Kansas City fans, obviously, for bringing the energy for Kansas City as well. You know how obviously we travel with a lot of fans, I want to say, for one player's reason or other players' reasons, but we certainly didn't really seem to. Yeah, there were some Messi chants and some like excitement when obviously he scored and when he, I don't know, for warm-ups, for example, like everybody wanted to say hi. But once the game started, you could sense that. I want to say about 80% or so were pro Kansas City, which is a good amount for that many people. So it was cool and a great atmosphere, great away atmosphere. Certainly something I'll remember for a little bit for sure.
And obviously, one of the fans that was pulling for Kansas City was Patrick Mahomes. What
I
was
don't
it like
know.
meeting Patrick? Oh, was he pro Inter
He
Miami? Are
like
we breaking
he
that
like kept
news right
saying, "Have fun out there, enjoy it." I was like, you sure you want me to enjoy it? You sure you want me to have fun? I don't know if that's. I mean,
Wow.
that's what he told. I think in the clip with Leo, right, where he greets him, he always says that, "Enjoy it" or "Have fun out there." So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was just there for a good show, but I think deep down he probably wanted Kansas City to win since he is a part owner, right? But
oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, that we're going to get him in even
yeah,
more trouble. He's out here. I just think he's just a really nice guy. Honestly, my perception of him from the outside, having never shaken his hand, is that he seems like a really nice guy. So he's probably just saying that to everybody because he just wants everybody to have a
probably.
good time.
Yes, probably. No, he was. So I usually go out when we arrive first at the stadium. I go out, especially in the big venues and cool venues around the US like that. I go out onto the field and take a look at kind of the surroundings when the stadium's a bit more empty, which at that time it was already quite full, to be honest. That was about like an hour and 20 before the game. And I see all the younger guys that are usually come up with me kind of go over to the sidelines. And obviously I see Patrick Mahomes there. I was like, man, I kind of got to go over there too and say hi. I don't really want it to be too much of a fanboy in that sense, but no, then kind of towards the end, once the crowd left him a little bit, and I walked over, and yeah, he's a nice guy. He just said, "Very nice to meet you," even though he probably had no idea who I was. Um, and yeah, it was fun. It was cool. I just went up to him, said, "Hey, how you doing?" And this is awesome to see kind of that many people coming out and all these things. And he was like, "Yeah, this is going to be electric. I love the stadium. I love the city, and it's going to be awesome." And then I just like thanked him and his wife for all he does to promote the game of soccer, which, you know, he didn't have to invest as a minority owner into Kansas City and kind of do these public appearances as he does sometimes. And then I especially pointed out for all they do for women's soccer. Obviously, as a girl dad of two girls, I like to see that game grow more and more. And I know they just got their own women's soccer stadium, first specific soccer stadium just for women in Kansas. Um, and I know they do a lot of work with the women's team as well. So that is really, really awesome. So I just thanked him for that. And then he said, "Go have fun out there, enjoy it." And that's it.
And you did, yeah. But I think it never ceases to amaze me how even when you're in a situation when you're fanboying, you are just the nicest human being on the face of the earth. You've got your priorities are so in order. I feel like they're a laundry list of every good thing somebody should be doing. You're like, well, thank you for all you've done for growing the game. Because I forgot that. I think his wife played college soccer.
Exactly.
I think Brittany Mahomes, I believe, played college soccer at Texas Tech. I think that's how they met in the first place. So that makes sense that he has that kind of driving force in the house himself to be like, we're going to go. But she wasn't there.
No,
right?
she was. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I saw her too. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. She
okay.
just wasn't as camera happy as Patrick was, I guess.
Yeah, when you get paid $500 million to throw a ball, I feel like you're a little more used to having the cameras in your face. That's neat. Did you have any other fan interactions? Because you said it was mostly Kansas City fans getting all, hot and bothered about the game.
Not too many. They weren't too hostile, to be honest. So it was. It was advertised as the loudest stadium in America, right? I think that's what everybody always says. But maybe that's only on third down in football games. I don't know if you can have that for 90 minutes in a soccer game. That's a long time. You can do it for 10, 15 seconds on a third down at a football game, but definitely wasn't. It was loud, yes. Obviously, it was loud, but it wasn't like deafening. Deafening. So
yeah, well, it wasn't an overwhelming atmosphere. It was a fun atmosphere.
It was more fun and
right?
more enjoyable. Definitely. I mean, there's some really good goals scored in that game too, which obviously helped towards the atmosphere from obviously them and for us. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think they were a little bit more quiet than what they wanted to be with us winning the game. But it's certainly a good feeling to go into an environment like that, do the job, and get out of there with 3 points.
Very professional. Just to catch everybody up on the lore of what happened in the game, it was a fast start, but it was actually a fast start for Kansas City, getting a goal in the 6th minute from German midfielder Eric Tommy.
Over to Tommy. Tommy!
But Inter Miami struck back in the 18th minute. You played a nice pass to Leo Messi, who slotted it in behind the defense to Diego Gomez for the equalizer.
The downfall for them in that match. Wonderful ball from Messi to Gomez!
Yeah, no, it was a slow start. in a start where like you feel like, oh man, after a tough loss, obviously midweek, you kind of want to get off to a good start. You want to get all that out of your system and you want to start well. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. But then our response was great, and that's shows character of the team, shows character of each individual of us to kind of not stop and continue to play our style and continue to put the pressure on. And ultimately, that was one of the I think the equalizer was a moment where we won the ball back. I was able to get the ball and I saw more space than usual. And I saw Leo in more space than usual rather than when the defense is set. He's always usually, obviously, has a lot of bodies and eyes on him in those moments. So in that moment, a transition type moment where I just try and give him the ball into a good spot. And obviously he takes a good touch and plays a fantastic pass to Diego, who finishes it really well too. So good for us to kind of come back pretty quickly too within the first 20 minutes, and then kind of take the game a little bit more into our hands from there.
And you guys came out of the second half really strong as well. Specifically, Leo Messi came out very strong. He scored a brilliant goal in the 51st minute.
Ruiz and Messi.
And with every one of these Messi goals, the question is always, what was your view? What was your view of this latest greatest goal from Leo?
Yeah, an unreal strike. I mean, it was, like we're talking about not needing much space, him kind of being able to just take a little quick touch and free himself just enough to get a shot out from 25 yards. And what a laser. That's kind of what it was, a little knuckle ball without really much to it, where he really just struck it well and ultimately scored a great goal for us, and in a goal that kind of really kind of proved of kind of how the game was going. I felt like that we were the better team in those moments, and we were able to capitalize, obviously, with a genius strike of his. But that's what that's why he's on our team, and that's obviously we obviously know that type of quality. But if you actually look at the goal and you look at the lead up to the goal, there's the defender. So it's a ball from Busquets back to David Ruiz, who then finds a one-touch pass to Leo Messi in the space. And if you look at it, you see the defender actually stepping to David Ruiz and leaving Leo free. So obviously, who would you rather want the ball 25 yards out? Is it David Ruiz or is it Leo Messi? I would certainly know who I would pick. So just those little details, if you watch the game, those are the moments that you got to look for. And in that moment, David did a great job of kind of finding Leo in that pocket that being created for him, and Leo does the rest. But certainly a nice one to score for sure.
Yeah, that one's going to haunt the defenders' nightmares. Then Sporting Kansas City equalized again.
To the near post. Suarez, the defensive ender. Tommy the volley! Oh, what a goal! His second of the night ties the game up in sensational stuff.
Before Luis Suarez ended up scoring the match winner on what was a really beautiful counter press.
Gomez takes it off of Davis. Gomez, back post, Suarez, and in!
And I, as much as I love playing out from the back, and you guys obviously love playing out from the back because it just provided that third goal, it is just so painful to watch those turnovers sometimes. You guys capitalized on it tremendously. That was just textbook press and goal, but I wince every time I watch one of those plays.
Yeah, you always talk about balance and trying to make the right plays at the right time, right? And that was obviously, 71st minute isn't really too late in the game, but the game is 2-2, and you don't really want to give us a chance to kind of press you, or don't want to give the opponent a chance to press you like that. The width of your own box, and I think Peter Vermees, the coach of Kansas City, even spoke about that afterwards in the media, how he basically just wants the goalkeeper to just clear the ball in that moment. And I think the goalkeeper actually owned up to it. Is like, yeah, I shouldn't put my teammate into that position. So you definitely want to find a give and take of when to play, when not to play. Are the opponents ready? Are you to press? Are your teammates ready to play? Right, this is a big part of it. thankfully he played him there, and Diego was able to kind of pressure steal the ball and give Luis another layup for the game winner. And we'll take it. We'll take the win on the road, a big one after a tough week that we'll certainly take in stride. And hopefully, yeah, it'll be very, very big, important 3 points for us moving forward.
Yeah, well, back in the top of the table, obviously, and putting that loss behind you that I promised we're going to get to. But we can't leave this game. We can't leave a discussion about your match with Sporting Kansas City without talking about perhaps the most viral moment from it, besides the fact that every Messi goal is viral. And that is our boy Yassine, Messi's bodyguard, absolutely booking it onto the field to try and save Messi from somebody that was coming onto the field to talk to him. And he was running on the field while the ball was just in play. I mean, with no regard for human life.
Yeah, it was hilarious. First of all, I'm wearing his shirt. I want to give him a shout out of his new clothing brand. He proudly passed that around today in the locker room, and everybody was loving it. But yeah, what a moment. I was sitting on the bench. I'd been subbed out at that time, and I was sitting on the bench, and he's always on edge, kind of like pacing up and down the sideline and everything. And Yassine is all of a sudden, like just out of the corner of my eye, I just see him take off, and the ball is like literally 5-10 yards away from us, and I'm just like, oh my god, he's going to tackle the players. Something is going on. He's going to tackle the players. And then, because I didn't see that there was a fan running onto the field at first towards Leo trying to get a picture, right? And that's kind of his only cue of, bam, here we go. But yeah, he sees the fan running on to the field earlier than anybody else and just books it right towards Leo and obviously trying to protect him. And then I think ultimately wrestles down the player or the fan that wants to take a picture with Leo to protect him. But yeah, what a moment, and definitely a moment where I was like, oh my Lord, he is definitely trying to like, I thought he was trying to tackle the players, like I said, but it was an intense moment for me, and it took me a second to realize what he was actually doing. But
he just activated. Yeah, he activated like a sleeper agent almost. Is where he just came to life. I love the idea that there's this kind of lone ranger that everybody just acknowledges can sprint on the field while the ball is in play just to protect Leo Messi. Like, he has free reign to go wherever he wants, no matter what is happening.
Yeah, I mean, technically there's other security, right, that is supposed to stop fans from jumping over until by the time they jump over and having to run on the field, they should be stopped. And that's what he always, whenever you talk to him about it, he's like, yeah, they don't do their job right. So I have to do my job. So he's, he gets upset at kind of the security people that obviously let that happen, because it's now happened quite a few times, to be honest with you, over the last few games. I think the last home game happened a couple of times, and now away in Kansas City as well, a couple times as well. So definitely something interesting. I had never seen it happen while the ball was in play, which was definitely crazy. As the ref kind of was like, "Stop, everybody, stop!" like blowing the whistle, and Yassine is just running on the field. But no, definitely a fun moment, and thankfully, obviously, Leo was fine, and Yassine protected him in that sense. But if like this is Yassine, the shirt, like him passing this out and being such a nice guy off the field, but then also doing his job so seriously. And he's the kindest human, off the field, but such an intense and just takes his job seriously, and that's protecting Leo. And I love that, that's what he's there for. And that's a great little indication of kind of how serious he takes his job.
I like to think Yassine would do that for anybody that's on the field. If a fan's on the field coming towards Julian Gressel, Yassine's about to just activate like the Terminator and go flying across the field. And bring him down.
It has yet to happen that somebody's running onto the field to see me. So maybe you could do that when we play in New York.
Yeah, that'd be great for the purpose of this podcast. I get banned from MLS stadiums because that would work. That would work super well. Totally would do it though. There's also something else that happened this weekend, kind of outside of the game, that involved less muscles and tackling of people. But it was still very, very interesting to me. So I wanted to make sure I brought it up. And that was Alan Pulido, who got Messi's jersey on Saturday. He got criticized by Taylor Twellman, and various other talking heads for kind of showing off the fact that he got Messi's jersey, even though they lost the match. And that brings up a couple of questions. Like, we'll obviously get how you kind of feel about that, but how do these jersey swaps generally work? And do you think that Polito broke some sort of code by posing with the jersey after a loss?
It's whatever Alan Polito thinks he can do. He can do. I don't really care. I don't really know. I mean, after the Monterrey loss, I got Brendan Vasquez's jersey. I think I'm not saying. I think for me, if I were to play against Leo Messi and we had lost the game, I think I would ask for the jersey as well. I think it's too big of a moment. Obviously, I'm fortunate enough to have these moments all the time, but if you play against him, it might be a once in a lifetime thing. And, for him to kind of get that jersey is definitely a once in a lifetime thing. So I think it's fine. I think how the jersey swaps work is usually for me, I either, if I want somebody's jersey, I usually go up to them after the game and just ask if, hey, do you mind if I get your jersey? For whatever reason, I try and give them a reason. I was like, I've been a fan of yours a long time, or my brother wants your jersey because he's been a fan of this German club that you came from, for example, right? Or there's the ones that you're kind of mutual, you're friends, and you kind of just swap. Like I have a ton of, like I did with Brandon Vasquez, for example. A Monterrey jersey I don't have in my collection yet. I have a Cincinnati one of his as well, and now I have a Monterrey one, which is also a cool jersey to have. And I think ultimately, once the career is set and done, those individual results and in the individual games will kind of fade away, and those memories will kind of stick with you. And that's what a jersey for me represents: is a memory of having played against either my friend, a really good player. Like I have, who else do I have? I have David Villas, for example, who played for New York City for a while. Like, a couple of really cool ones like that.
Would you say David Villa is the best jersey that you have? Like, what's your favorite jersey? That's probably the best way to ask that you have gotten in a jersey swap on the field.
I really have to go back through it and like look at it again to see kind of which ones I have. I mean, there's some good ones in there. I know I have Gonzalo Higuain's Miami jersey
yes.
from a while ago, which is funny now, but yeah, David Villas is a good one for sure. Obviously, I like to always keep also items that I've worn, at least one item, and those MLS Cup jerseys obviously stick out for me that I've worn in MLS Cup, but those aren't really swaps. But yeah, I'll look through and maybe I can present some at some point. But it's definitely, yeah. So there's different things that go into it, right? Like if you're admired by somebody or if you admire somebody. Sometimes I even got asked a couple times from young kids already to swap, which is obviously a huge honor for me, right? Of like, hey, yeah, kids are looking up to me that just come into the league, which is awesome, and I happily give my jersey away. So yeah, those are kind of how those swaps work. With Messi, I don't know exactly, because obviously I feel like everybody wants his jersey, so
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
I was gonna try and create like the same situation. I was going to try and create that Messi situation, but for you, obviously, it would be to a lesser extent. But I'm assuming you play against NYCFC. There might be multiple people that want David Villa's jersey. How do you determine who actually gets it? Because I would assume that's what teams are doing when they come up against Messi, or they're all just elbowing each other for position to try and get to his jersey first or something.
I'm pretty sure there's seniority and then hierarchy established before. But I certainly didn't get David Villa's jersey on the first game I played against him. I had to wait a couple of games down the road. One jersey, for example, I didn't get was Zlatan. I wanted that one, but there were other players that I didn't really want to step in front of at that time, and then unfortunately I didn't get that one. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure that they talk about it beforehand. They try and figure out what the lineup is and what the Alan Polito, I think the highest paid player on the team, a big DP, right? So I'm sure he kind of played that role a little bit, played that power a little bit, and then since there's no Argentinian on the team, I guess he was the first guy in line.
Yeah, you bring out your passport and be like, no, I should be the one that's going to
Yeah.
get this jersey. But there is apparently multiple ways to approach this, because part of this story has been kind of put together is a Colorado Rapids forward Rafael Navarro actually revealed earlier this year that he asked Messi for his jersey during the game. What do you make of that? Is that just like a sneaky way to get around the elders maybe and be like, oh well, Messi already said he'd
Yeah,
give me my
maybe.
jersey?
Maybe that's something for him to kind of just try and sneakily throw it in there, but who knows? Those are, like I said, those are different team dynamics. I think that depends from team to team. But I think I would have a conversation with my teammates throughout the week to see, hey, who do you want to get the jersey from? Because obviously we don't just have Leo, right? We have Luis and Gressel and Busquets and Alba. You see how I threw myself in there?
Oh, I like that. I like that. Hey, people are asking for your jersey now. You've got the MLS Cups and the brand name. No, you can't sell yourself too
So,
short. But no,
yeah, so there's more than that, and I'm sure there's conversations beforehand. But yeah,
I like the idea of somebody drawing straws in the dressing room. But I regret to inform you, Julian, it is time to talk about the Champions League, the CONCACAF Champions Cup. When you guys headed down to Mexico as part of this week-long road trip you've been on between these podcast episodes. And first, what was the experience like kind of in Mexico before the match? Because we knew it was going to be intense from the moment you guys touched down. And then you started texting myself and our producer, Michael, these videos of the whole street packed with people.
yeah, it was more than I expected, to be honest, and more positive, obviously, before the game than I expected outside the hotels, especially. Um, we got there and it was mayhem, like you saw in front of the hotel. The streets were full. The huge police escorts with even these policemen riding on top of pickup trucks in the back with guns in their hands and super official and stuff, super high security. But yeah, it was intense and really could feel the love from the Mexican people for those guys and for Leo. And so it was definitely more than we thought it was going to be. But yeah, once the game came around, the Monterrey fans, were Monterrey fans. They weren't Messi fans. I think they booed him quite a bit. They booed all of us really quite a bit, not just him. They were real fans for their team, and that's awesome. I love that atmosphere. It was a true, I don't know, obviously you've probably seen the stadium, but it's the mountain view and everything. Have you seen that?
Oh, it's hard. It's hard to
Yeah.
miss that because the moment they announced it was a World Cup stadium, everyone just started drooling over it. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. If you've not had the opportunity to look up Monterrey's stadium, I think Estadio BBVA, I believe it is, that you absolutely should stop what you're doing and Google it right now because it looks AI generated. Like some of the pictures of the stadium look fake. They look like bad early 2000s CGI. Can you see the mountains when you're on the field?
No, you can't. Only from the top. I think the upper deck there. You can, but yeah, an unbelievable stadium. The way it's constructed, super tight. The fans are on top of you. Just an awesome stadium. The field was terrible. That's a different story. But the atmosphere, like a proper Champions League type of night. You think about nights I've grown up in Europe, right, with the UEFA Champions League and kind of those night games, those type of atmospheres. That's what it felt like, and it really was really awesome and an awesome experience to be a part of. Obviously, the game didn't go the way we wanted to, unfortunately, but from a overall experience and overall, yeah, just having been able to be part of that and kind of feeling that emotion from the people in Monterrey is awesome. And I asked, as we were walking out onto the field, I asked Brandon Vasquez, I was like, are you guys selling out this place or having this type of atmosphere always? And he was like, no. Most of the time it's sold out, but it's not this intense and it's not this type of atmosphere right now. So we definitely brought out the best in the Monterrey fans, and they certainly let us know that they weren't on our side either. So
it is Wonderful, I think, how the CONCACAF Champions League has increased in importance in the last 4 or 5 years. But maybe, I don't know if what you said to Brandon kind of fired him up, because he did score the first goal of the game. So they kind of got on you guys early, obviously, and it just felt like, even though you had a lot of the ball, this is my football manager side kicking in. Even though you had a lot of the ball, they were the team that was just able to find the threads. I guess, and part of that was the field.
Yeah, I mean the field, both teams have to play on it, right? So I don't want to make too many excuses about that, but every time you try to hit a long ball, you try to like have a little bit more of a forceful stop or directional change or anything like that. The whole sod would kind of come up, so it was very loosely just laid in there. I guess part of it is the construction of the stadium, the way we talked about how beautiful it is and everything. It actually doesn't allow for the sun to come in. So the roots can't grow as well as they would in other stadiums. So the field is quite loose in there. But yeah, we weren't able to create enough chances. I think that's ultimately what it came down to. They were a really good team defensively, a team that punished us with all the little mistakes that we gave them. If that's on the 1-0, if that's on the third goal. And yeah, those moments against good teams, they hurt you, and we weren't able to capitalize on the little moments they gave us, or we weren't able to create enough chances ourselves. And that's something, yeah, we'll have to learn from, we'll have to get better at. And obviously we'll have the Leagues Cup where we play against Mexican teams again, of that sort of quality. And with an MLS, when the better opponents, when we play against good opponents, like Kansas City, for example, we were able to still turn the game around and able to create it one way or another, the goals. And that's, I think, what it was all about trying to play the moments, trying to create. And we weren't able to do that, unfortunately, against, a good team that ultimately, deserved to advance. Obviously, I'm removed a week now from this game, so I can kind of say that.
Little easier to talk about it, I guess, because that was there was a lot of bad blood going into that. Did any of that spill over onto the field in the second leg? I mean, there've been a lot of trash talk. I know we talked about it on this podcast.
Yeah, we did. And, I have to apologize to all the listeners as well. I kind of, played up the whole game as well. And then it obviously didn't play out the way I had envisioned it, or I had it in my mind. But I wish it went the other way, and we would have been able to come back and kind of really play them, off the field, which, is tough to do on the road against a good team. But none of the extracurricular stuff, I think, spilled into it all. I mean, a little bit, you obviously have that little extra edge, but it all kind of played within the lines and within the game. I want to say, these types of games are certainly, I think I talked about it extensively last week, where they get you fired up a little bit more. They get you wanting to play a little bit more, motivated a little bit more, and all these types of things. And but that didn't necessarily come out in any bad ways. It kind of just played itself out across the 90 minutes, and with how the game went, where it never really got to a point where it was super intense, super like feisty, because the result was so clear at times that it kind of like didn't really lead us to kind of that, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, exactly. They created enough separation that it was like everybody except for Jordi Alba was able to resist the urge. Who did get sent off, by the way, in the Champions Cup quarterfinal, just adding to his MLS street cred, perhaps. But moving into the future and leaving Monterrey in the past, like you said, you'll see Mexican teams again in the Leagues Cup. You guys have a game against Nashville this week, which is just kind of a funny draw, because you did actually play them in the round of 16 of the Champions Cup. How's that scouting report shaping up for going up against them a third time already?
Yeah, I think it's different to know, or to kind of have that much film already, I guess, about an opponent directly. Obviously, we had a tough game in Nashville. I think where we tied the game late, very late. And at home, we had a really good performance and ultimately advanced and won the game. I want to say 3-0. But it's a good opponent that can hurt you in many different ways. And I talked about it back then when we talked them. I think it's a team that's very organized, very structured, and has good quality going forward. Obviously, with Hani Mukhtar, good friend of mine, who I have the jersey of as well.
There we go.
That they can hurt you with the quality they have, and especially playing on the counter and in transition moments where we got to be buttoned up in those moments, and hopefully we can have another good performance like we did back at the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup against them, where we win the game and pretty comfortably. But at the same time, we know what it took, and it wasn't easy. So now it's all about MLS. So that's all the focus that there is. There's no more CONCACAF Champions Cup. This is MLS for a few months now before the Leagues Cup. So we want to collect as many points as we can. And number one goal has always been MLS and to kind of win the league and all those types of things. So hopefully we can extend our time at the top of the table and continue to be there by collecting 3 points, especially at home against Eastern Conference opponents, those direct opponents of ours. And Nashville's the next one up, and hopefully we can continue that positive run now taken from Kansas.
And now it means you'll finally stop being the guy that's played the most minutes in seemingly all of MLS so far, with Inter Miami having played extra matches and then having Champions Cup on the side. Are you looking forward to maybe a little bit more time off? I mean, obviously you wanted to keep going in the Champions Cup, but now that the schedule's opened up, you do have a few more free days in the middle of the
we
week.
just have regular weeks now, Saturday for I think a few weeks. I don't know. I kind of wanted to keep playing in the Champions Cup and would have loved to kind of drag myself through these, not drag myself through these, but, get myself through these tougher weeks just because of knowing of what kind of could potentially happen with the Champions Cup. But at the same time, you kind of just take it for what it is and you take the time. It's definitely like, talk about last week, for example, I think we had 4 flights, obviously 2 away games, 4 flights. What was it? 5 days, 4 flights, 2 time zones, and a little bit of a different climate as well, where you fly Tuesday to Monterey, you have 90 plus degree weather, super hot, dry, very late game for Eastern Standard Time game. So like a 10:30 p.m. kickoff for us, which is really late. And then you have 1 day to recover, which you fly to Kansas that day, where it's a little bit chillier, a little bit cooler, another 2.5 hour flight, and have only 2 days to recover to play another game. And then you get home Saturday night after the game at 5 a.m. in the morning or Sunday morning. I got home, my kids were up at 7:30. So I got like a couple hours in on the plane and then a couple hours at home. And, you kind of, that's how kind of you end your week. So it's definitely been tough, and a lot of games, a lot of minutes, but at the same time, that's how you want it, and that's what you do it for, and you figure out times to rest and everything. But yeah, now we have regular weeks. Like I said, I got 2 days off, got to sleep 10 plus hours both nights, the last couple of nights. So I'm back to feeling good and ready to kind of push on and train and get better as a team, and hopefully continue a good run.
The blessing and the curse, or maybe it's a little DJ Khaled. You're suffering from success there, getting 1.5 hours of sleep by getting all the way to the Champions Cup quarterfinal. But I have an idea of something that might be able to help you through that. I know that, I've gotten my hands on the secret recipe, and it's really helped me get through the long streams. Is I've heard tell of the Lionel Messi protein shake recipe. Now, and as much as I love to joke about having tried, I've never tried it, but we've kind of talked about this a little bit. You have, and maybe that's why you're able to play, 40 games in a row.
What is your post-workout recovery immediate protein shake need after your half marathon?
Oh, my immediate. Okay. Yeah. After my half marathon, my parents were there. And I finished the half marathon, and I looked at my parents and I said, I don't feel good. Can somebody go get me a smoothie? And my dad ran to the nearest juice bar or something and got me 2 protein shakes from that juice bar. And I sat in Central Park for half an hour and had both of those protein shakes. I will say I adopt a bit of a philosophy where I do all of this running now, obviously still somehow less running than you do. But I do all of this running with the marathon and the half marathon almost so I can kind of eat whatever I want. I'm not eating like Little Debbie's and Oreos, but I mean, sometimes I'd finish a long training run and then I'd be walking around, and I'd be walking by Cane's Chicken. I don't know if you've ever had Cane's Chicken before, but they just put one in Times Square. And I on my training runs, I'd be walking back through there, and every once in a while, I would catch my eye, and I'm like, you know what? I ran 20 miles today. I'm gonna go get some chicken. But no, I ideally it'd be an acai bowl, something with a lot of peanut butter. That's kind of where I lean in my actual, like, if I'm adhering to what I'm supposed to do. Is that what Messi's shake has going on? Or
when I first got to the club, I was able to. We have a dietitian who prepares protein shakes for us for after training. So I would always see, everybody would kind of get their regular protein shake, just a couple scoops of protein or 1 scoop of protein and with whatever milk you want or water. And that's kind of it. Right. And then I saw, obviously I was asking if that is what Leo and those guys were drinking as well. And I think Leo has obviously a special diet from his people that he has in his camp, that he has employed, that he's, worked with for years and years. And I think his protein shake obviously contains a little bit of different stuff. I think he has some cocoa powder. I don't know the exact recipe. I think it has some cocoa powder in it.
And if you knew it, they'd have to kill you. I think that's how that works. It's the special secret
it has
sauce.
Like everything mixed in there, like some creatine and like some of the other stuff as well. And obviously protein as well. And I tried it for a little bit. I was like, yeah, sure. Whatever Leo's drinking can't be too bad. Can't be too bad. So I'm trying it. I'm trying it for like a few days. My stomach's like a little bit upset afterwards always. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if this is for me. And so like essentially, I think what it was not really for me, right? It was something that just didn't sit right with me. And Leo, it was just, he's obviously drinking and it's doing well for him, but it is something that I can't, my stomach just can't really handle in that moment after training. Whatever it is in there, I don't know. I didn't ask for too many specifics. I now get like a little bit of a lesser version of that where
Messi's just built different. I wouldn't feel too bad about having.
We know that, right? Messi is built different, of course. But yeah, I'm now, I've kind of, that's what I like to do. What do we talk about? The yoink and twist. I yoinked it, and I twisted it, right? And I twisted it to kind of what my body prefers and what I kind of like, with still good nutrients, obviously, and still the stuff that I need for after training. But when I first tried it, I was like, man, wow, that's something that I didn't expect.
That hits harder than I thought.
I think it tasted.
I
tasted really good.
Drink
it tastes like peanut butter though. I think there was banana, cocoa powder, protein, obviously a certain kind of protein. I'm not sure which one.
I'm envisioning it like it's a really thick shake. Is this like super thick and you can barely pour it out of the cup, or is it still watery?
It's still watery enough to not be like too smoothie-ish. It'd still be like more of a protein shake in that sense. But there's definitely some fruit in there. Definitely some banana.
Well, if you get one more, if you can get the dietitian to make you one we can try and dissect it. But I'm also laughing over here at how granular we're getting. We're like, well, what's the consistency of Messi's shake, and like what effect do we think that has? There's another aspect of professional life outside of your smoothies that I did want to dig at is we've touched on before. You're a Bayern Munich fan, obviously. The story that had been written kind of in stone for a little while, kind of like it came to pass. Bayern finally lost the league. But I'm curious to know, because you guys are traveling all week and there's Champions League going on. I'm assuming Messi's really invested in what's happening with Barca or whatever. How much do you guys keep up with all that stuff? Like, is there a watch party for Barcelona?
Yeah, we actually, well, not like a watch party, but it was like during a meal, because I think they played Wednesday, right? So we played Wednesday. So it was kind of during, I think, lunch or like pregame meal or something at Monterrey time.
So during your pregame meal, you have this giant flat screen TV with Barcelona's Champions League match on it, basically.
And who would have thought I would ever watch Barcelona play with 4 Barcelona legends in a sense, right? Of obviously Leo Messi, Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, and Sergio Busquets. And you could definitely sense or feel the difference when they're watching Real Madrid or when they're watching Barcelona. It's funny because obviously the day before, I think Real Madrid was on. Yeah.
Yeah, they would have been the day
So
before.
we watched that also together at times, not the full game, but like parts we watched together, and you can definitely feel like there's a rooting interest, not so much for Real Madrid, um, but definitely for Barcelona. When we watched Barcelona, it was cool. Yeah, you can see how much they care, how much they care about the club, and how much they want them to do well. I mean, today's Tuesday, so I think obviously it didn't go so well in their tie today.
Yeah, but the game that you're talking about that you guys watched together, they
Yes.
did win. So I like the idea of Messi's like jumping up and dancing on tables because Barcelona's winning.
It wasn't
winning the game.
that crazy, but it was definitely like, yeah, you could sense the excitement. I'll just say that. Yeah, but it wasn't any jumping up and down or anything like running around the hotel room or meal room or anything like that. But nice moment for sure.
Yeah, it's a better game to be watching than obviously today. Like you mentioned, Barcelona getting knocked out, and Xavi, a former teammate of, I believe, all four of those guys, was less than pleased with the official. I don't know if you saw that, but I had the direct quote in my head earlier. I think he said, "There's no sense in talking about the game because the referee ruined it," which is that is a bar. What do you think of a manager going in that hard on a referee, though? I was struggling with that, trying to talk about it on stream today. People were asking, like, well, is Xavi out of line for saying something like this? It's like, well, I personally, I kind of think so. I think it's weird when a coach blames the officials that much. I get it because the emotions are so high. Like you just lost because they got a red card in the 29th minute that it shouldn't have been a red card, but it wasn't a terrible call. It was a bad call.
There is a difference, and those are, they're tough to really answer this because, obviously Xavi felt that way, right? And he felt like, okay, if it's 11v11 at home, their chances of advancing are so much higher. And
they were up 4-2 at the time on aggregate, by the way, just to set the scene when he gets sent off and they give up 4 goals.
Yeah. So obviously against a really good team as well that, could have also won it with 11v11. Then maybe he would have talked about the game. But I guess, if you take decisions like that or decisions that are out of your hand, that are taken away from however you perform, your performance almost becomes secondary because another person kind of, made that decision, I guess, about the game, which had such a big impact on everything, right, on the field. A red card is almost a bigger impact, in my opinion, than a goal, right? Especially the 26th minute. So that has a huge impact on what happened afterwards. And that's why I totally understand where he's coming from. I certainly felt that way before. But I've also been in positions on the
No, not you with your multiple yellow cards for dissent. Never, Julian Gressel.
I've also been on the other side of it where, you kind of have the opponent get sent off and you're like, all right, nice. This is good. This is good. Like, yeah. So
do you have that thought? Are you conscious enough on the field to be like, whoo, don't know if I agree with that call, but that's a nice gift.
For sure. Obviously I don't say anything.
Yeah. Well, no. Probably wise decision.
But there were moments, especially in Atlanta, I think, where where the referee either made a decision that might not be a red card, or the player just makes this absolutely stupid tackle or something like that, like in like the 5th or 10th minute in the midfield that like didn't need to do it to like warrant that red card or whatever. Like those types of moments where you're like, all right, nice, this feels good to be up with a man for 20 plus minutes. So no, 80 plus minutes, something like that. So it's definitely feel his frustration, Xavi's frustration, and I definitely know where he's coming from. So maybe there's also part of it that just wants to protect his players, to keep them kind of, not feeling too bad about themselves in a way of kind of going out that way, and losing the tie on something like that. But yeah, it's certainly a tough decision to take, I think, at that moment with that much at stake.
It's easy to talk about being composed, but it's very hard to actually be composed in those moments where you work for something for a whole year and you feel like it's robbed from you. I think people do lose sight of that from time to time. but we're kind of towing around it. But we're going to go into a segment that I'm going to title "Around the World." Here we go, around the world. And we started with the Champions League, but I do want to take this to Germany because I was having this debate today, and I just wanted your 2 cents on it as somebody who's a fan of the team on the receiving end of this. I believe what Bayer Leverkusen is doing, which is, for those uninitiated, they're unbeaten in Germany. There's never been an unbeaten team in the history of the German league. And they have 5 matches left, and they've already won the league, ending Bayern's 11 consecutive title run. Obviously, your club.
The final whistle is sounding. Now they can exhale. Now they can celebrate. Leverkusen is Deutscher Fußballmeister.
I think that is arguably the most impressive season in European club history. I mean, at least right up there with the treble for United and City and whatever. I'm curious, you have a bit more of an inside window on this. Is it as impressive as I seem to think it is, what Leverkusen's done?
100%. It's so impressive, and there have been moments throughout the season where they've had some comebacks from goals down, and even in the 90 plus minutes where they score equalizers, where they score winners, the Europa League as well. To have that record of not having lost a game for obviously this entire season is insane. It's insane.
I think it's every competition. So the German league, what is particularly insane to me is I got to make sure I get the numbers up so I don't. I mean, I normally sound like an idiot, but I like to avoid it when I can. So they've played 29 games. They've won 25 of them and drawn 4. Like, even when Arsenal had their unbeaten season in the Premier League, I think they had double-digit draws that season. But Bayer Leverkusen's just winning every game. They won every game in the Europa League, like you mentioned, and they've won every game in the DFB Pokal. And they play in the final of the German Cup, which is what the DFB Pokal is. They're playing a team in the 2nd division, so they're huge favorites in that too. I think I feel very bad, obviously, for your club and for you and your family. But yeah, you can cry into your 11 titles.
Yeah, don't worry. I used to be a really, really big Bayern fan. I still am, and I still root for them. But I'm also happy that these things are happening for German football and German soccer. I think it's important. Also, that Dortmund advances to the semifinal of the Champions League today. You know, what an incredible achievement for a German club other than Bayern Munich to do. But I want Leverkusen to go unbeaten all season. How cool would that be if they would win the Europa League? Technically they could lose in penalties, but they would win the DFB Pokal.
That's interesting. Would that still count as an unbeaten season? For me, honestly, it would. Like, you get all the way to penalties, but then you lose the penalty shootout. It would be. That is. It's like a question for the philosophers. I don't even know. I really just hope they win, so I don't have to grapple with that question anymore.
But
I'm gonna sleep.
Like I said, I want them to win. I want them to make it all the way. They play a really, really good style of soccer too, which is awesome to watch, in my opinion. So deservedly so. They're right where they are, and all it took for Harry Kane was to go to Bayern, the winner.
Oh no, we're not doing it to my boy Harry like that. Well, I mean, it was the unstoppable force meets the immovable object, because you had Harry Kane, who's never won a trophy, which is amazing considering how good he is. I people slating him, saying he's like not clutch or whatever. The dude scored a penalty in the World Cup quarterfinal. Granted, he then missed another one, but like, the guy clearly is if he came up in the City Academy or something, the guy would have 27 trophies. I think it's ridiculous when people say he's bad. But you have Kane, who's coming with this hoodoo of just never having won a trophy, up against Kingsley Coman. I don't know if you know this fact. You do? You know that? So Kingsley Coman came up at PSG, spent 2 years at Juventus, and has been at Bayern for the last, 7 or 8 years, has won the domestic league every single professional season. So you had Kane, who's never won, and Coman, who's never lost. And it turns out Harry Kane's more powerful than Kingsley Coman, because Kingsley Coman for the first time is not celebrating a league title. But we looked this up on my stream, and I have a very fun fact for you, because this is just something that even the Hollywood scriptwriters couldn't write. in the 2012-2013 Bundesliga season, that is the only time Bayern Munich finished with just one loss. So that means the closest anybody's gotten to having an unbeaten season before Leverkusen. Their one loss that season was to Bayer Leverkusen. It's just they 11 years before their unbeaten run, they preserved their ability to be the only unbeaten team in Germany. There's no way that's a coincidence. I believe in fate. It was destined on that day. Bayer Leverkusen.
I hope so. I hope they will. I don't even know what does their rest program look like? I don't even know who they stuck with.
I remember I looked up their schedule. It's actually not that easy. If they don't play Bayern again. So Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich have already played twice. Leverkusen has a pretty open path, but I believe they have a couple of games against top teams. My brain's failing me, so I got to pull it up real quick. They play against Dortmund is their next game, which is obviously not easy. Well, their next game before that is Europa League quarterfinal at London Stadium against West Ham. They have a 2-0 lead, so they should be able to see that out. Then they play Stuttgart, who's actually very good this year, right? They're fourth, I think, but they're definitely in European places. Obviously, so is Dortmund.
Tied with Bayern, actually. Yeah, really good.
That is. Oh, they are. Yeah. They're in third. Yes. They're 13 goal difference off Bayern, but the same number of points. So 2 very, very difficult games. And then they have Eintracht Frankfurt on the road after that, who's also in Europe and won, I think, the Europa League 2 years ago. I mean, that's a very good team as well. Now, granted, after that, they play Bochum and Augsburg and then Kaiserslautern in the final. So it should be if they can get through the next couple of games, it's a pretty easy run-in. But we will keep our eyes peeled on Germany, the fatherland.
You got to remember also if they advance through the Europa League, then they'll play a semifinal, they'll play a final. It depends on what they prioritize. But
the Europa League final would be after the German Cup final.
Yeah,
no?
I think
is
so.
That how it works?
Yeah.
Okay. So then they would basically just have 2 more midweek matches if they beat West Ham, which it kind of at least looks like they're going to do. I don't know. And they're also coming off a giant party after.
Rightfully
Did you see
so.
the footage?
I watched it live. Yeah, I watched it live.
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had the opportunity, but they I mean, Leverkusen, for those that didn't know, had never won the German league before, and they clinched it this past weekend. The fans were all on the field doing chants for hours. There was a lot of beer flying around. So we'll see in what state they show up in London on Thursday. I think Xabi Alonso will have them focused, but it's tough when you have a celebration like that, and then there's big important matches to play after.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see. We'll see how they can regroup, but they certainly have the belief to do it all, and they've seen all of it. Like I said, they had a lot of comeback ties or wins as well. So certainly going to be fun to kind of see their run in and kind of see if they can win it all, which I certainly hope they can. At least go undefeated in the Bundesliga, which would be cool, because that's also something that one more record that Bayern doesn't have. And, like I said, good for German soccer. I'm not that big of a Bayern fan, as you can see. I'm trying to kind of be more neutral, as I'm part of the media now, not so biased. But.
Oh, yes. Okay. Or whip around the world things. The Chelsea penalty shout. I know you probably saw this. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. It's 4-0. Are you really about to get in this big of a shoving match over a penalty, Julian?
Oh, that's silly. That's silly.
4-0 up. Madueke has taken a couple of penalties and scored them.
Well, that really is silly.
And that shines a different light on the dressing room.
That does.
Hey, stats are stats, right? You got to get I don't know, if there's bonuses on the line, if there's, there might be certain things on the line that we don't know about. So, as a coach, rightfully so, I'd be shocked at what happened and transpired. And I would certainly not want my teammates to see, or I wouldn't want to see my teammates go through that on the field with everybody looking at you, and then obviously the cameras being there and everything. That's something not so good that looks to the outside, and certainly something but at the 4-0 point, it's like, all right, come on.
It was for those that missed it, it was a giant debate at the penalty spot, some pushing, some shoving, some arguing, even though Chelsea was winning 4-0. But it sounds like you're being more understanding of them than most people were, where you're like, hey, maybe, tempers were just high. But at 4-0, I can't imagine what it must be the goal bonuses.
Probably.
It's got to be. Somebody needed a really nice steak dinner or something. And the last whip around the world, the Masters. I have been informed by our producer that allegedly you are a scratch golfer, which is insane. So I need your thoughts on the greatest tournament in golf. Scotty Scheffler, while his wife is basically due with a child, bringing home the green jacket.
Yeah, kudos to him. And I was a scratch golfer once before being a dad. Now I get out maybe like.
Oh no! Wait, is Scotty Scheffler in trouble now? Because I think his wife's due in about 2 days. This was his last.
I think it's a little bit different for him since he does it for a living. And does it so really, really well. I saw like a stat. He's made like 20+ million, I think, in the last 3 months alone. So yeah, crazy insane how good that guy is. And I called it from the start that he was going to win. I saw him up there after round 1, and I was like, "Yep, Scotty's going to win this thing." Obviously, easy for me to say now after the fact.
Yeah, well, that's a very LeBron-esque thing for you to say.
Exactly. But no, he's I'm into golf. I love it. And now me and my daughter actually watched it together, and she was like, "What are they doing?" I was like, I explained to her, and we would like make little bets of, "Oh, is he going to get it in the hole? Is he not?" What? So trying to get my daughter into it so I can eventually, go play again some more with her.
Yeah, you're like, there's this dead period while the kids are little, but once they're old enough to play golf again,
that's right. I'll be your caddy. I'll drive around the golf cart with you. You can drive as well once you're old enough. But,
we're just practicing driving today, and you're just taking them to the driving range instead.
Yeah, obviously, big fan. I think a big fan of golf in general, and haven't gotten to play too much here in Miami, unfortunately, but played with the national team a little bit and some guys there. And
who's the best golfer on the national team then? When you were there, who was the best?
Georgi Mihailovic.
You can say you also. Oh, yeah. Mihailovic.
I talked to him the other day when we played Colorado, and he was like, "Yeah, I play almost every day in Colorado." I was like, "Oh, nice. Must be nice."
No, there's no reason for me to know this. I think I followed Georgi Mihailovic on Instagram. I think he just became a dad or is about to become a dad as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so he might be about to run into the exact same situation eventually. You should play him in a few years when you're playing with your daughters again, and he's in the little kid phase.
Hopefully, I get a chance to get out with some other guys. I think who else plays? I think Walker Zimmerman plays. I think Christian Pulisic plays a lot. So hopefully, I get a chance to go with these guys at some point. And if not, then we'll just have to put up a little tournament, a little charity tournament. Or something like that, which I actually used to do in Atlanta. I used to actually put one. We had one, the Gresselmania Golf Classic, it was called.
That is awesome. Now, you could do like some version of the game, but with the U.S. men's national team players. I'll be your caddy. It'll be great.
Love that. We should get that together for sure.
I'll be trying to Tokyo drift the golf cart and just it's going to end up in a lake. I'm so sorry. We do have fan questions, believe it or not about the golf. But now if we ever hang out, I'm going to need to get my golf game up. I've played one round ever, and I didn't keep track of the score. I kept track of how many balls I lost. But we have 3 questions to get to today, including one that's a video question, or you're going to hear the audio at least in this podcast. First one's from Amanda Waltz on Instagram. Said, Leo or any of the Barca boys even know who Patrick Mahomes was?
Yeah, they did. We covered it last time. How Leo is getting more and more into the NFL. And who's better to know than the guy that's just won, so many Super Bowls and kind of been the face of the league for the last few years. So they definitely knew him. And I think you can see that kind of in their reaction as well. Of when he met him, all smiley and stuff. But obviously the language barrier was certainly there, so they didn't communicate as much. But they definitely knew who he was.
Second question from Dia Mua. My apologies if I mispronounced that, on Instagram. The most hostile fans stadium in MLS.
Oof, that's a tough one. I mean, there's some stadiums that I love where the fans are literally like right next to you. If you're standing on the sideline, and where I used to play a lot on the wing, right wing back, you stand on the sideline a lot and you get a lot of stuff thrown at you. Last year I was on the bench in Orlando with Columbus, and warming up for like 45, 60 minutes, and they don't stop talking to you in Orlando, for example.
In English and
Yeah,
Spanish,
yeah.
I think this is the advantage.
But even like, I want to say like
So wait,
12 to 15-year-old kids as well, and they just kind of go at you like the whole time, which, some of the stuff is not very nice, and definitely not repeatable. And certainly.
did you ever acknowledge it while you were in Orlando? Did you ever like look at them or wave or bow? I don't know. What I'm not a
Yeah, I think
professional
after we
athlete.
won the game, I just kind of turned around and just said, "All right, see you later."
Oh, I love that so much. Okay, the final question is a special audio question from Tyler Joffrey. And here's the question. We'll play now.
Hey, Zealand and Julian. Just want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to ask you guys something. Big fan of the club, Inter Miami, since day one. Big fan of the podcast now. Julian, how do you feel the future of this club might be? I know you might get a lot of questions about Messi related, or just about the big legends at our club. But how do you see, from a player's perspective, the future of this club? Maybe even after Messi. Because I am a fan since day one and for the long ride, not just for Messi, but for all the players. Vamos Inter.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler, for asking the question. Obviously, appreciate it. You can tell how much you really appreciate Inter Miami, and being a fan from day one is obviously awesome to see. You can really see how you have the passion for the club. And yeah, I mean, it's a club that is based on dreaming, right? And I think the people say that all the time in the club, and the owners say that all the time about dreaming big, dreaming. Obviously now capitalizing on Leo being in the team, Suarez, Busquets, Alba being here, but there will be a time after them. Like you said, there will be a time after them. There will be a time after me. There'll be a time after the next guy. Nothing's bigger than the club, really, and that club will exist for a really, really long time. So, there's certain infrastructures in place that obviously will stay the same afterwards. I'm sure Miami will be a destination for a lot of stars, obviously, that want to come to the States and want to play here. So I think that part will always kind of be connected with the club. So if it's not Leo Messi, it might be, I don't know, the next guy, and maybe he will get younger by a few years already. And guys will make the jump over as the league gets better and better to kind of be here. And Miami will always be an ambitious club. I have the sense of wanting to win as much as possible, and certainly they want to capitalize now, like I said, this year, next year for sure, with Leo here, and that's where my focus is as well. I'm here to try and do the job now, and focus on winning now, while the people that kind of have the long-term vision in place, which is the owners, which is the managers and everything, that's kind of their job to kind of gauge the balance of how much do we invest into it now, and going for it all now, or do we and how much do we pay attention to kind of the longer process. Having the first few months here, I can already tell you that I would be excited to be part of this club for a long time, beyond Messi and other players on this team. So it's something that sometimes crosses my mind of how can we establish processes, right? How can we establish an identity for younger players that are coming up that could be here longer, that we're trying to build, while not forgetting about the now. And I think the most important is still the now, but those thoughts about the future and about what it looks like in 3-5 years, and even longer, are certainly there. And again, they come up at the right times, for us to make the right steps, for us, to be positive and to have good outcomes during those years as well for fans like you. So appreciate the question.
And a thank you to all of y'all for asking questions every week. Before we go, a reminder, today is the last day to enter to win a signed Julian Gressel jersey. I have created 10 fake Instagram accounts to enter myself. Don't tell Michael or Julian that. To be eligible to win, follow us on Instagram at Player Manager Pod and leave a comment on our giveaway post. And make sure you're subscribed to the pod on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We will announce the winner on next week's pod, so be sure to be there. This was a lot of fun, Julian. I'm sorry about the Champions Cup because that would have been awesome, but I'm happy that you get to have a few days off.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that was fun. we gotta get some more questions for you coming in as well at some point. I can't just be the only one.
Oh, we will. I think that I just need to become the goalkeeper for an MLS team, and then I'll definitely get a bunch of get a bunch of questions as well. But I appreciate all of the people. I've already met a couple of people that are big fans of the podcast, and you guys are awesome, and I really appreciate you listening. And if you are listening, don't forget to rate and review the podcast. It is a huge help to us because we are still technically like starving artists here. We're a garage band. We're in our demo phase. We're very early, so each review and rate does help us out a lot. Thank you to Julian. Thank you to Michael, everybody that helps put this together. I'm Zealand. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll catch you next time.